A very good evening to one and all present over here. I am Shreyas Malevar, lead DSC GHRCE, and your host for the evening. I welcome you all to the UI UX hands on workshop. User interface is the only thing a user can touch and feel in a software product. The end user is least concerned about the most complicated code you wrote in the most efficient way in record time. What matters is how does the product look? How how easy is the software to use? Well agreed that the functionality of a software is highly dependent on the complexity of the code base. The more complex a software, the more complex the code base. But in the end, what matters is how easy is the product to use. Everything is dependent on UI. What good is the product if it is not sold, isn't it? So far, we have uncovered that UI and UX are two very important parameters of the software development process. Moving ahead, let's check out what you get to learn in this session. We'll see what is UI design, what is UX design, why UI design is important, the psychological thinking behind UX design, job opportunities, hands-on, followed by a Q&A session. There's a little instruction about the hands-on session. We have the project files download link here in the description below. I request all the participants to download those files immediately. Moving ahead, we have Mr. Vaibhav Pathak with us today. He is an application development associate at Accenture and a UI UX designer with an experience of 3 years in building products. He is a member of communities like Developer Circles from Facebook and a former co-team member of DSC GHRCE. He has won numerous hackathons, Smart India Hackathon, Vodafone Idea Code Fest, and also represented India at the Singapore India Hackathon. I welcome you, Vaibhav. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Shreyas, for the kind words. First, everyone, well, my name is Vaibhav, and I'm an engineer, and I also have expertise in UI UX design. So I'll be very clear with you. This is one of my first online session because I prefer doing it offline. And since it's a hands-on workshop, I'll have want you to cooperate with me. So if there are few rules, if there's a question and the answer is yes, you could just type in the comment section yes, or you could just type in the comment section no. So let's get started with it. My name is Vaibhav, and I'm a designer as well as a developer, and I've been working in UI UX since 3 years, and I started with design in my 11th 12th standard. I was doing graphics design for about 2 years, and then I shifted to UI UX as soon as I took up the engineering. So well, in the past years, I have worked with and won numerous hackathons and with different organizations. I've worked with TEDx, MHRD, Honda, Vodafone India. I've represented India and Singapore, won Smart India Hackathon, and worked with numerous other companies. So let's get started. Why this workshop is for you? Well, the first and foremost thing is, if you want to make a career as a UX designer, then this workshop is for you because it's an introductory workshop. You won't get pro at UI UX design, but you will have a very good idea about what exactly goes into building fine products. If you want to build products for hackathons, if you are a student and you are trying to compete in hackathons, what exactly make your solution a winning solution? What exactly separates you from the crowd? If you want to create design that are both beautiful and as well as functional, because most of the time what happens is that you see very beautiful designs but they are not functional at all. And if you're looking for a non-coding career option, because after a developer's job, UI UX engineer is one of the most sorted out career option if you are a computer engineer or if you are an engineer who's not very much into coding, or if you want to solve problems and make life easier for people, or if you want to work in marketing, product development, architecture, because UX in itself is a very big field. But most importantly, this workshop is for you if you feel like this gentleman when it's come to coding, then it's exactly for you. So if you feel same when it comes to coding, just put in yes or why in the comment section. Let's move on. So what exactly is UI design? Well, in the strict definition, user interface design or UI design refers to the visual element of a product or digital experience. In layman terms, it is the part of software that you actually interact with, that you actually touch, and you actually use to perform your task. That's what actually is user design. So then what is UX design? Because UI almost cover up everything that you need to interact with a solution or you interact with a software. Well, UI design focuses on interaction between real humans and product on everyday basis. It's not limited with interaction. It goes far to the experience part of the solution. So what is experience part? You need to feel a sense of satisfaction. You need to feel a sense of completion after using a software. And it's not just related to software industries. UX goes into a varied disciplines like psychology, business, market research, design, and technology. So this session is actually for those who are from graphics background or who are looking to have a job that is a non-coding job. So here's an example of UX. This is called Norman Dose. No matter how trained you are, no matter how many times you have used Do, you always stop and pause for a second for push or pull action. Even though it's clearly written, you have to push this door, you have to pull this door. But we stop for a second and then we think that we have to push or pull it. But what if you have two different kinds of doors? On the left side, you see it's called Norman doors. You have a flat plate. So there's nothing else you can do rather than pushing a flat plate. So that's clear out the friction part. You don't have to think about performing a simple task. And on the other hand, the right side, if you see a bar, the first human instinct is to pull it. So this is how user experience helps in solving problems that are related to real life, psychology, or even softwares. This is one of the most famous example of what's actually difference between a UI and UX. On the right side, on the left side, you can see it's a very good looking Heinz tomato ketchup bottle. But is it very helpful to the user? Because most of the time when happens is when the bottle gets empty, you have to switch up the bottle and then you have to tap on it to get the sauce. Isn't that the scenario? But with simple UX, by looking at what can benefit the user, you can design a product in such a way that you don't have to go an extra mile to perform a simple task. So why UI and UX is important? Well, let's take an example. How many of you have a little niece or your brother's kid or any small kid in your family? If you have a small kid in your family, just type yes in the comment section. Okay. So how many of you have a parent saying, look at my child, 2 साल का बच्चा है, but like he's so brilliant, he's able to use mobile phones or he's able to use YouTube or any other software. He's able to open mobile and play games. But what we do is that we say it's the brilliance of the child कि बच्चा कितना होशियार है. But the thing is, it's actually the brilliance of the UX engineer and the software engineer who is able to make such a complex technology a child's play, that even a 2-year-old can use such a complex technology. Well, that's exactly is the use of UI and UX design in software development. So how big can change can a UI UX make in a software company? Well, if used in the right way, it can make a difference of $1 trillion. And I'm not joking. Because here's an example. What do you do if you have to search anything? Just write in the comment section. What do you do if you have to search anything? Exactly. We Google it. Why haven't we heard anyone saying, let's Yahoo it? Well, this is the front page of Yahoo search engine, and this is the front page of Google. Which one would you prefer? Obviously, the one with better user interface and one with better user experience. Because obviously, if मैं नेट पे जा रहा हूँ, मैं कुछ सर्च कर रहा हूँ, I'm there to search for something and I'm there to look for something and get information and then go out. Simple. That's my user journey. Why would I want to know about horrifying most beautiful face model in an online story if I just want to simply search what is the extension a C++ file is saved in? So this is why when the time Google came up, Yahoo was one of the biggest search engine in present. Yes, it's actually true. There was a time when Yahoo was bigger than Google. So what changed? Google came up with a very better user interface and with a very better user experience. You don't have to do anything, just search. And now if you look at it, Yahoo is valued at around $4.4 billion, whereas Google is $1 trillion company. So in the long run, this is how much of impact a user experience and a UI design can do for your product. So there's a saying in user experience or user interaction team that there are only two industries that call their customer users. The one is the illegal drugs and the other is software. Because let's be honest, you never heard anyone saying, oh, I'm a customer of Google or I'm a customer of Android phone. You always say I'm an Android user or I'm a Google user. So that is what different. User is you are providing with an experience. You are using this software. You are not just a customer. You are not in an exchange of a to and fro data. And like illegal drugs, software are addicting. So how many of you here are very addicted to social media? Because I am. If you are addicted to social media, just put in yes or anything. Because I'm addicted to social media. So why are exactly we addicted to social media? Why can't we stop scrolling infinite number of posts on Instagram? Because it's designed that way. Instagram and other social media giant have specialized team to make the product more addictive, to make it more user centric, to make the user use the software for a large number of times. They all does it. Even Facebook does it, Instagram does it, TikTok does it. We all know like TikTok is a very viral phenomenon. Why does TikTok does it? Because unlike Instagram, TikTok have even fluent user interface. Even with the login process, if how many of you have used TikTok? मतलब मैंने नहीं किया है just because पढ़ना था इसीलिए. No one would judge it. If you have used TikTok, just type in yes in this comment section. कोई ban नहीं करेगा. So the thing is, TikTok has a very fluent onboarding screens. You have three swipes and you are in the application itself, and the algorithm will provide you with the kind of content that you would like to see. And that's why TikTok was so addictive. That's why it has, when TikTok was live in India, it has a larger user interaction than even YouTube. That's why there was this fight between YouTube versus TikTok. So if there are any carry fans, like type in carry op in the chat. So moving on, what makes a good UI design? Well, in a good UI design, there are a lot of factors that comes in. But I'll be very clear. We are talking about UI design because UX is a very wide concept. UX have a lot of concepts that deals with the human psychology, that deals with how a person's emotional response would be. So what exactly happens is there are four pillars for a good UI design. Those are typography, color, negative space, and hierarchy. So in this session, we'll go with one by one with all these pillars of UI. So at the end of the session, I hope if not a pro, you would be able to create better presentation, better graphics, or if you are practice enough, you'll be able to make better user interfaces. So the first thing is typography. As you can see behind, there are different posters and each one of them have their own nature. You can see some are plain, some are playing with typography, some are overlaid. So typography is something that you can really play with. Like typography is one of my favorite pillar of UI design because you have no idea how much you can do with just simple text. Well, we'll dive into it. Well, human are someone who try to attach everything emotionally. You try, even with social media, the problem is we try to get emotionally attached with social media opinions, and then you have to face different lot of problems with depression, anxiety. You get more like you get happy. So humans have this tendency to attach everything with emotions. As you can see, these two are the same words, but written in different kind of typography conveys a different emotion. Because obviously on the left hand side you can see एक तरफा आशिक ने लिखा हुआ है, and on the right hand side you can see, if not your boyfriend, your best friend. So you get the point, right? This is how much of impact a typography makes on a human emotion. So what exactly is typography? In the Google definition, the style and appearance of a printed matter, the art or procedure of arranging type or processing data or printing from it is called typography. Well, काफी complicated हो गया है. I'll make it simple for you. The art of arranging text in a very beautiful manner is called typography. Now, there's no limit to how you can use typography, but there are few rules. Mostly, there are two main types of fonts. The one is sans serif, as you can see on the left hand side, and the other is serif. So, what exactly is different between them? The serif fonts have little curvature on the end of every alphabet. As you can see, the A and A have little curves, a circle or something that is extending from the letter. So serif and sans serif, if you want to remember, what you can do is like serif, and sans you can say non serif, like a font which is not serif. So this is how you remember the concept of serif and sans serif fonts. So how do you use a serif font, or where do you use a serif font, or where do you use a sans serif font? Well, the serif fonts are mostly used for print media because print media are easier to use, easier to read. So the extended part of the alphabet is easier to remember or easier to interpret. That's why if you go through any magazines, or if you go to any old magazines, they mostly use the serif font. But like recent trends, many magazines have started using a serif fonts, and there are different fonts now. You have different typefaces, you have scripts, and etc etc. But the main two fonts are serif and sans serif. So serif fonts you use for print media. What if you're designing anything that is to be printed, whether it is a poster or a banner or a leaflet or an iCard, anything that is to be printed, you have to use the serif fonts. On the other hand, sans serif fonts are mostly used for digital medium. Why? Because when dealing with a digital medium, you have a very short attention span, and that's why you need a font that is easier to use, that is easier to interpret. That's why in all the modern websites you have sans serif font. And if you want a live example, why don't you just grab your phone and open your WhatsApp or Instagram and check if they have serif fonts or sans serif fonts. Well, I'll wait for the comments. What kind of fonts does your social media applications have? Okay, so if you look closely, you'll have sans serif fonts in your social media or any other softwares that prefer it. But it's not a hard and fast rule that you can only use a serif font in a print media. Serif font and sans serif fonts can be paired up to create a very pleasant visual experience. Mostly in digital media, the serif fonts are used for headings or for something that needs your attention. So there are few rules that you should go by for better typography in your application. The first rule is less is more. बिकॉज लाइक बीइंग इंडियन हमें आदत है शादी आदि में चले जाते हैं, एक प्लेट में जितना खाना आ सकता है वी ट्राई टू गेट दैट फूड, जो भी होगा, मतलब यहाँ से दाल गिर रही है लेकिन फिर भी लेना जरूरी है, बिकॉज वी हैव दिस थिंग कि इंडियन है, हमको मिल रहा है तो सब ले लेंगे. So this is what one of the most common mistake that people do, Indian engineers do, because if you look at the IRCTC websites or any other Indian websites, why they are not doing well than the other Western websites? Because in India we are more inclined toward quality, or we are more inclined toward functionality, that we neglect these aspects, and that's why we say, because जैसे recently Chinese application बंद हो गए, share it बंद हो गया, TikTok बंद हो गया, lot of different Chinese application बंद हो गया, तो इंडियंस ने बनाया क्या? शेयर इट नहीं था तो यू डोंट हैव एनी सॉफ्टवेयर जिससे शेयर कर पाओगे. टिकटॉक बंद हो गया, टिकटॉक के जैसा कोई दूसरा सॉफ्टवेयर नहीं है, एंड अ लॉट ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर अराउंड 20. पबजी बंद हो गया, इंडियंस क्यों नहीं बना पा रहे? बिकॉज वी टेंड टू निग्लेक्ट दिस यूएक्स पार्ट ऑफ द डेवलपमेंट. वी आर लाइक कोड कर लेंगे चलेगा. दैट्स व्हाई दे हैव डिफरेंट स्पेशलाइज्ड teams for the UX part. They do the UX and the UI research. So the first tool is less is more. Whenever you're trying to design something, anything, whether it's an application, whether it's a design, anything you're trying to design, try to keep the font, the number of fonts as minimum as possible. If you can use a single font, use a single font. If you can use, try at most using two fonts, not more than two. Because as you can see on the example on the left side, three fonts does not give you a sense of uniformity. Humans have this tendency कि I don't know, a lot of people have OCD कि if कोई चीज straight है and then like you line up few pencils and एक pencil ऊपर कर दोगे, कई लोगों को काफी irritation हो जाती है. Why? Because human brain is wired to go for uniform things. सड़क सीधी चल रही है तब तक ठीक है, आड़ी टेढ़ी हो गई तो you have less confidence in your trying, because you have this attention span जो कि break हो जाता है. So try to use as minimum number of fonts as you can in any design. Exactly. Shubham का कहना है कि that's why government applications are bad. Yes, because like we don't spend a lot of on UI and UX. So the other rule is skip a weight. So if you're designing, how do you pair up this font? If you are saying I'm using a single font, तो मैं कैसे उसको मैनेज करूंगा? Because I have to show this hierarchy कि हाँ obviously I want here ज़्यादा attention चाहिए, यहाँ कम attention चाहिए. How do you do with a single font? Well, every font comes with a number of typefaces. Every typeface comes with a number of fonts. Some is medium, light, semi bold, bold, and some fonts come with a black font. So let's, for example, let's take a live example here. If you're using a font, okay, let's say, hello, I am a font. You can see the screen, right? Let's, this Poppins is like one of the free font that I'm using a lot these days. So if you're using this font, I guess everyone have installed XD, right? Because like we'll have a hands-on session. So if you go in XD, on the right hand side, if you select the font, you have n number of typefaces. These are the different kind of font a single typeface can be. If you push it to thin, it will go to thin. If you light, italic, semi bold. So if you're trying to make a clean typography in any application, and if you're using a semi bold font for the headlines, try to use a font that is at least one. Skip a font like after semi bold you have medium. You skip the medium part and you jump to the regular part. So if you make it a subheading, you skip the medium regular font. So now you have a hierarchy between these two. So you can use this for the heading, and then you can use this for the paragraph or for the subheading part. And if you want to use it even further, what you can do is that You can skip a font again. You can go from light to extra light, and now this is your paragraph font. So this is how you use skip the font to make a hierarchy. So back to the presentation. So what's next? Next is you double the point size. If you don't want to use a different kind of font, what you have to do is you double the size. If you're using a font on 15 scale, on a scale of 15, if you have to use a heading, just make it bigger by 2x. So if you're using a subheading for 15, you use a heading for 30 points. So this is called a rag. Okay, this white space you have, it's called a rag. So try to keep the rag as minimum as possible. So if you follow this rule, it will not break your reading pattern. Most of the time what people do is that they tend to align it in center, because obviously acha dikhta hai, but it's not very user friendly. When you try to build complex design, or when you try to build a complex solution, you cannot always put everything you cannot always put everything in center. You have to make a clean reading pattern, because what happens if you're aligning your fonts in if you're aligning your fonts in middle, you create rags from both sides, because now I have to read this, and then here's my concentration break, and then you have this much of white space here. So this white space, this tiny space breaks my attention of reading. So if you design a web page with center aligned, you have most of the probability that user won't use your site for more than 10 to 15 seconds. For 10 to 15 seconds. Arc said everyone is using Crack. XD is free for limited of versions, but it's not very costly software. But if you don't have XD, there's an alternate to XD, that is Figma. Figma is also a very good alternative to XD. There was also the godfather called Sketch, but Sketch is very limited to the Mac OS. So XD is something that is right now, XD and Figma are something that are industry standard. If you're trying to go into the UI design, XD and Figma are the industry standard right now. So let's move ahead. So what it does is that it breaks your attention. So if you want to make a blog, or if you want to make a website that deals with heavy textual content, try to align the text on the left side, because what happens is that in this way, the only time your attention would be breaking is when you shift from a subheading to heading, and that's exactly where you want the user to stop and pause and reflect upon what is written on that. But if you do it center aligned, you create drag from both the sides. You have this gap from both the sides, which make a very unpleasant reading experience. So if you're making a blog sites, this comes very handy. So here's come, and let me give you an example, like how exactly can you create very beautiful design by just using fonts. So let's say if you want to create a poster, any kind of poster that's very interactive, any poster that's unique, innovative. So you don't have to do anything. You double click on the artboard. You have this fill. Everyone is using, well, Framer is actually a prototyping tool. Very good question by Krishna. Framer is actually a prototyping tool. Framer does not actually is widely used to make UI designs. What you do is that you create UI designs on either Figma or XD, and then you move to Framer for prototyping, because there are a lot of features that XD and Figma does not support. So that's why you use Framer for prototyping purpose. There are different tools. There are user experience research tools. You have UI design tools. You have prototyping tools. You have presenting tools. So there are a lot of different tools. But if you learn XD, you'll mostly be able to use any kind of thing. So here's an example of how you can creatively use just typography to create a very beautiful design. So let's change the artboard color to black. Okay, and then let's delete it. So we want to let's say create a creative poster. So okay, change the color to white. We'll take it white. And then we'll make the box. So you have this simple sentence, you have to create a very creative posters with thing outside the box. So the first and foremost thing is what you do is like align the text to the left side. Okay, you can already see it's much better looking than simple alignment. And what we'll do is that we create it box. Okay, we'll create an individual text element here. Section. Okay, the most useful thing about XD is that you don't have a lot of options here. Okay, you have a very minimum amount of options, and they are more than enough if you have very clear UI principles and very clear UX goals. They are more than enough to create very beautiful designs. So we'll use a rectangle here. We'll make a rectangle. We'll make it transparent. Okay, and then we'll give it a white border. This is border. This is fill. If you click on the fill, it will fill the shape. If you uncheck it, it will uncheck. And then you just place it here. And now you have a creative poster. Think out of outside the box. It's just text, but you get the idea what actually it's trying to say. Think outside the box. If you want another example of typography is what you can do is we'll delete this, okay, and then we'll write, let's say, change the perspective. Spelling चाहिए ना perspective की, because like I'm very weak in spellings. Okay, and then you have this design, and what you do is like you turn it 180 degree. Sorry, you okay. That's it. Okay, and then you change it this way. So now you have another creative poster. Change the perspective. So this is how you can use typography to create a different kind of designs and to create a lot of okay. So Saurabh have a question. Can you highlight the advantages of using XD over Adobe Photoshop? Well, it's not about advantages. Both are very different softwares, whereas you can do almost everything on Photoshop, but XD is mostly isolated to the UI UX design part. But if you have good knowledge, you can almost do almost everything in XD as well. But if you talk about XD versus Photoshop, Photoshop is far more superior. If you have a very good command over Photoshop, then I don't think you have to learn any other software. If you want to work with vectors, then you have to move to Illustrator and other Adobe Suite software. So this is how typography work. So everyone have got this file, right, at the start of the session, right? If you got this file, just let me know in the comment section. Also, if it's getting very fast, just tell me, I can slow it down, or if it's very slow, I can fast it up a bit. Okay. Okay, so everyone have got this file, right? Yeah. So like so we are now done with the typography part. So we'll just make changes to this file, because like, to be honest, it's not up to the UI UX guidelines. So we'll try to change this. So the first thing that we learned was to try to use as much as sans serif fonts as we can. So We'll change this font to Poppins, my current favorite font, and then we'll change this one to Poppins as well. I would want you to like do it simultaneously with me. So it's Poppins. Okay. Mhm. So this is as much as we can change in the typography as of right now. We'll left align it. Okay. You start aligning everything. So we are done with the typography part here in this change. Well, uppercase, lowercase sentences are mostly, see what happens is that uppercase sentences are mostly used for the heading part, or if you are into logo designing, the logo name should be mostly in uppercase. But it's, see, in design there are no hard and fast rule for anything. There are no golden rules that you have to use this thing or you have to use anything. So uppercase are mostly used for something that you want a lot of attention to. So that's why you use uppercase. For rest thing you can use lowercase or the normal, like first letter capital and the rest followed by the lowercase. So okay, how many are there who does not have a working XD software or like cannot open the file? So I have to look on the right side because the other monitor is on right. Okay. Okay, Aman Ali is there. Just one person. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, cool. After updating is opening. Cool. So we're done with the typography part. Then we'll move to the next pillar. Well, the next pillar is negative space. So what do you actually know about negative space? Does anyone have any idea about what exactly negative space is? Blank space. Okay, we'll write blank space. So see, the thing is, music is space between the notes. Um, the thing about like why I like UX so much is that UX is connected to everything. Okay, it's actually called science of life. So you get to know, you get to learn everything from your surrounding. So is a very clear example. There's a quote called "Music is the space between the notes." Because if you play a piano, okay, if you play a piano, if you play a basuri, or if you play any instrument, and without any stop, if you try to beat it, if you try to press a single button and then keep pressing it, that's not music. It's noise. What music is actually is the space between two notes. Okay, it's the point of stoppage. That's what music is. So the concept of negative space is derived from this thing, is that you need to pause and you need space between things to work out in harmony. Exactly. So here's a very beautiful concept by another designer, Ismail Elaziz. He's a designer. So how many elements do you see here in this design? How many elements do you see? Well, the one element I could see is the typography part. Which other element could you see? Excuse me. Yes, 2, 3. There's a split opinion here. Anyone other guesses? Color change to highlight hardly. It's a very good observation. Like, we'll get to that later. But right now, as you can see, there are two design element. If you ask a normal person, he'll say there are two design element here. But the thing is about in design, in any kind of design, the maths is different. The third element is white space. So in design, 1 plus 1 is actually 3. I know there are a lot of coders जो चिल्ला रहे होंगे कि यार 1 plus 1 तो 11 भी होता है if you go by JavaScript's rule or like numerical to add to string. But in design, 1 plus 1 is equals to 3, right? So the third hidden element is the white space. How many of you think white space is important or white space is not important? वो पिन चैट चल रहा है, ठीक है. पटेल important. Okay, so like काफी अच्छी जनता है यहाँ पे, पता है. So white space is one of the most neglected UI pillar that people neglected a lot. So what happened is that less negative space makes your design look cheaper. Obviously, if you look at this design, you have a feel कि ये कोई इंडियन इंजीनियर ने बनाया है, and या फिर you have this thing कि यार duplicate हो सकता है. You don't have this sense of confidence or you don't have this sense of trust in this design. Why? Because less negative space makes it look cheaper. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Very right point by Narayan Ranjit. That's what made the difference between Google and Yahoo. Yahoo looks a bit cheaper, whereas Google provide a richer experience. So if you remove all, if you like let the design breathe, you give it white space, the design looks rich. So you have to give your designs a lot of white space, but not too much white space, because a lot of too much of white space does not provide you with a hierarchy. It does not give you an element of binding. और in general sense, जैसे लोग बोलते हैं कि यार मजा नहीं आ रहा है या फील नहीं आ रहा है. So not too much but not too less. White space is very important. Look at this design. It's not a lot of white space, but it's not a very less white space as well. So it gives you a very calm and very confident look to your websites, because it feels genuine. If there are any gamers in the chat, the website of Epic Games, right? Epic Games have a very clean user interface. Epic Games, and if you go to Steam has a little bit of cluttered user interface. But if you go to the Epic Games, it have a very clean user interface. You don't have problem navigating, you don't have problem searching games. So if there are people who are into gaming, they might probably know the difference between the Steam website and the Epic Games website. There's a lag between the YouTube stream, so I have to wait for the comments. Okay. Japanese design is a bit of a advanced topic. We are trying to mostly cover the basics of design. Well, actually, basics of user interface design. Uh, we can have a one-on-one offline chat if you want, Raj. So let's move to the next topic, and that is color. So before moving to color, we'll go back to our design, and then we'll like make changes according to the white space. Okay, so we have this lunch part, and put it down here. Okay, we provide enough space. clear the space. Take chicken grill. Okay. To move it here, I will take the image here, give it just enough space to breathe. Okay, cool. Move it a little bit up here. We'll take it here for now. Hmm. You guys are making changes with me, right? Those. Okay. Well, how many of you are from computer science or like what? Yeah, if you could just like type in the chat section your year or your field. Like if you're from first year and CSE branch, you just type in first CSE. So yeah, few changes done here. Okay. Move this, align this to here. Okay. So how many of you have same design as me? Okay, first, fourth sem. Okay, most of you are from like first year, second year. Okay, good. Good. Like first year, second year, people have a lot of things to explore. Yeah? Like you can you have a lot of time to explore different kind of things because like it was quite late for us to explore this thing. But like since you have access to all these things, you can explore a lot of different opportunity if you're not into coding. As I said, if you feel the same with the gentleman, you can have a different career option as well. Okay. Okay, someone's working as a design intern. Okay, nice. Okay, cool. So let's move to the next topic, which is color. So here's a little experiment. What emotion do you feel when you see this color? You can just type in the chat like what any the first word that comes into your mind when you see the color green. Nature, that's right, nature is one thing. Money, exactly, money comes in mind. Plants, hi, there's engineer dada, ये favorite हो गया अब मेरा. Hi, moss, nature, fresh. So you lot of have very common answers like freshness, nature, or either money. So this is how human mind works. Okay, we try to attach as same with the typography. We try to attach emotion to everything that we can interact with. So if you see a color, we try to attach it with a emotion or we try to attach it with a feel. So every color is attached to a human emotion. And if you are working as a software developer and if you have to make a user interface design for application or for websites, it takes 90 seconds for a customer to form an opinion about a product. And 90% of the time, the opinion is influenced by colors. Because we have this tendency of judging very quick. And the most amount of space that any design takes is the color. Even if it's a white space, the white color is actually a color, right? So color is the biggest aspect of any design. It takes the biggest real estate in any design, whether it's a let's say whether it's a software design or a application design or website design or any kind of poster design or any kind of design. Even when you make a home, even in architectural design, a color matters a lot. So here's another question: which one do you use more often, GPay or Beam? Google Pay or Beam, which one do you use mostly? I do have my UPI ID if you want to super chat me. I'm just kidding. Google Pay, exactly. Almost everyone uses Google Pay. But why? Google Pay is not even the UPI technology. The actual main UPI technology is Beam, Bharat Interface for Money Transfer. So, why do people tend to use Google Pay, or some other people use Phone Pay? Exactly. Some other people use Phone Pay. Why not use the actual technology? Because Beam is the first thing that you have to do. Every transaction is done by Beam. So why are not people using Beam? As you can see here about the colors, most of the colors here are in the GPay design is blue or orange or purple. As we have seen in the previous slide, what does blue says? Blue says trust, peace, technology. What does orange says? It says confidence, innovation. And this is why exactly we use GPay, because there are only two companies that have done on par with user experience, a user interface. The one is Google, and the other company, it's also $1 trillion company. Any guesses? Any guesses? Which is the other company that takes advantage of user interface or that takes advantage of design a lot? Apple, exactly right. Apple is the other company that heavily focus on the user experience, because Apple does not sell you cell phones, it sells you an experience. Because obviously if Apple लोगे और मिरर सेल्फी नहीं लोगे तो एप्पल लेने का सेंस ही क्या बनता है. Moving on, that's why the color here used are neutral, whereas the color on Bheem UPI does not follow any kind of rule. You have pale yellow here, you have light blue, you have green, you have orange, you have all sorts of color, and you have a very cluttered user interface. So that is why a lot of people, when in fact Google Pay crashes a lot. If in comparison, Phone Pay is actually better at handling UPI transaction than Google Pay. But still, a lot of people use Google Pay, because when I enter the application, the only thing I see is the who are the people I want to transfer the money, or if they are not here, here's a new payment button. I just have to click and transfer money. But if I enter the Bheem UPI application, you see a lot of things. You have hassle-free way to clear your monthly bills. You have favorites. You have approve to pay. You have pay bills and a lot of things. The more the option, the more confused the user is. Exactly. So it's one of the other principle. We'll cover it later. So there are different rules to follow a color. And again, I would reiterate, a design does not follow any rules. These are simply suggestions. So there's a very famous rules in user interface design that's called the 60, 30, and 10 rule. So what's 60, 30, and 10 rule? There are actually three colors when you try to design a interface. The 60% color, which takes up most of the UI, is called the primary color. The 30% color, it's called the secondary color. It takes up to the 30%. It takes mostly the color of cards, mostly the color of the menu panel, mostly the color of font. All this thing comes to the secondary color. And the third one is accent color. So does anyone have any idea what accent color means? Does anyone have any idea what exactly accent color is? No, anyone? There was this guy who was doing graphics design, right? Graphics design intern. Any idea? Accent colors? Exactly. Aman Ali is right. It's used for buttons, scroll bar. In UX term, it's called CTA. CTAs means call to action. Anything which is asking the user to perform a task. If there's a button, it's calling the user to perform an action. That's why it's called call to action. It's one of the most common question asked in a UI UX interview. What exactly is a CTAs? So CTAs are simply just buttons or scrolls or the navigation part that ask the user to do something. So the accent color should take up 10% of your whole design. So this is how you create a very clean and clear user interface. You use the 60% of part for the primary color, you use 30% part for the secondary color, and then you use 10% part for the accent color or the CTAs. So we are done with the color part. So same process, we'll jump to the design and then we'll look for the colors. Well, you see, these colors does not fit well with the design. There's another concept while choosing the color. It's called contrast. So the first thing is, if you're using a black color, you try to use a color that matches up with the contrast of black. So the most common color that goes with black is white. So the first thing we'll do is we'll change the background color. You double click on the background, you go to the fill section, and then you take up the bar right up front. You take it right to the front, and then you have a very good contrast between these designs, right? And then you have this element lying around, grilled cheese. So what we'll do, we'll push it up a little up, we'll match align it. Mm, okay, okay. And then we'll take this button a little bit down, but still in alignment, and we'll take it here. So as we know, in the hierarchy, in the typography, you decrease the size just a bit. So you have a hierarchy. This is your headline, this is your subheading, and then you align it. The best part about XD is that it gives you guidelines. Okay, if you move this way and you want to align it with this grilled chicken part, you just have to slightly move it and it will automatically tell you if it's aligned. Now black, red, will change this to black as well. Okay, now these two are the colors that we have to change. So if you want to take up colors, you try to take up the colors from the design itself. So this is a food design. Okay, so the primary color that you can look up here is the slightly orange tint of the chicken. So what we can do is, like, we can change it to a very neutral orange here. Okay, we'll change this to orange, or we can just use up this color. Okay, this is one of the trick. If you have to pick up any color from the design, you just select the element, you go to this icon. If you can see on the screen, can you all see this icon on the screen? It's called color picker. You click on this item and then you just click on the color you want. For now we want this color, we'll just click on this and we have this color. So what color is this? This is called, as we have discussed, the accent color. But right now it's not contrasting, so we'll change the font color to, let's say, white. We'll increase the size a little bit, not too much. Okay, center line it. Same goes with this color, but we'll keep it a different color. Let's say we'll keep it a neutral color because it's a secondary button. Well, this works good. uh, Match the contrast. Font is 26, right? So we'll make it 26 as well. And then you have your color fixed, right? This. Yes, okay, pale and green. Uh-huh. Okay, this is one of the also complex concept. It's called layering. Right now, this image is above this icon, so we cannot touch it. We'll slide it here, take the image back to its place, and then we'll match this one with the accent color. So the accent color here is the orange. We'll do this, and this usually goes to this part of the website, right? You have your profile section or any other icon. We'll have this here. So our design is looking a little bit better, right? Better here. Okay. Okay, so let me know when you are all on. Your design looks like this, and then we'll move forward. Yeah, it's a very great question. Like, where can you see the layers? Okay, on the left hand side, there's this menu on your XD toolbar. Okay, it says layers, right? So you just click on it. So here are your layers. Okay, you have right now you have two artboard, right? This artboard and this artboard. If we just delete this artboard, you have single artboard. You double click on it, and then these are all of your layers. This is all the element that's present in this design. So if you click on chicken, you have this chicken image. Grilled chicken is your text of grilled chicken, and then you have lines. This is lines. So these are all the layers that you can use. And see, there are a lot of things you can do with layer. Okay, let's say if you want to hide this element for a while, you don't want to use this, you have to use it for other guild, right? So you just click on this I button, it will hide. Okay, it's for people who have used Photoshop, it's very common thing. It's a very common Adobe layout. So you're all done with this. So let me know if you're on the same page as me, and then we can move on to the second one. Is everybody here? Everybody on same page, please let me know in the comment section. Save in system. I didn't get your question. Save. Acha, okay, it's okay. No, animation is a advanced topic, interaction. But let's see. We'll try if we have time. Okay. If you want to save it in system, go to the file here. If you are a Mac user, you have to go to the top left corner of it. Okay, Mac have a different menu section, but if you are a Windows user, go to this menu, and you have this option of save as local document, right? Save as local document. So here you save as local document and it will be saved in your local machine. So once if we are done, we'll move on with the presentation. So here's how you can use colors in your design. Moving on, the most important and one of the most complex pillar of user interface, and that is the visual hierarchy. Does anyone have any idea about what exactly visual hierarchy is? Well, hover state features, Yashmeet, is a bit advanced topic. Even though I'll be able to explain you the others, it would be too complex. Who are like first time using XD, but if you want, you can have like DM me or something. I can tell you in person. So if you're done with, does anyone have any idea about what visual hierarchy is? Arrangement of element other than typography. Yes, kind of true. Visual hierarchy is kind of true. Any other guesses? You can say more important. Yes, it's one of the part of visual hierarchy. Yes, you can say it. इंजीनियर दादा यार तुम इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हो कॉपी पेस्ट बट ठीक है चलो so let's move with visual hierarchy part. Well, user don't scan the web pages, don't read the web pages, they scan. uh, if you go by the statistics, a general user takes about 10 to 12 seconds to judge whether they have to stay on the website or they don't have to stay on the website. This also comes in the part of SEOs, where you have to calculate the conversion time. So the more slower your website loads up, there are more chances the user won't use your website. So it takes hardly 10 to 15 seconds because users have very less attention span. So you have this window of 10 to 12 seconds to grab the user to use your product. So you don't read the web pages, you just scan, and after scanning, if you like the layout or if you like the website or if you like the application, then you stay on the application. So what does we have to do to make the user stay on the application? Well, this is where visual hierarchy comes in. Look at this example. How many of you have read this the same way it's written? If you have read this in the similar hierarchy, okay, me, okay, 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 yeah, same. So this is what actually is called visual hierarchy. So hierarchy is one of the key pillar of the UI design. Why? Because this is where you have control over the users. You dictate how the user should go or how the user should use your application. You dictate the flow of the application or you dictate the flow of the user journey. So why did you read those in that order? Because visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy deals with how you dictate the user to use your software, how you guide them. This is the first thing that you should read, and then move on to this and this. Well, technically you don't guide the users, but you make assumptions that user will go in this fashion, and then you carefully put in the things in that particular space. Let's have an example of a very famous website, Facebook. So if you open up this page, what hierarchy do you scan the page? Like, what do you look at first and what do you look at second? So did you look at the page in the same manner? You look at the logo and then you look to the login part, you look to the image and then create account. How many of you have scanned this page in the same manner? That layout, exactly. 1, 2, 4. Okay. So this is what it are called heat maps. Okay, there are mainly two reading patterns, that most famous two reading patterns. One is the Z layout and the other is F layout. This one is called the Z layout. Most of the sites that deals with a lot of imageries tend to prefer the Z layout, because you know how exactly the user is going to read the page. So you place the logo. You have seen almost in every 90% of the website, the logo is placed on the left upper side. Why? Because the user starts looking at a website from the left upper side, and then it moves to the right side, and then it moves in a zigzag pattern to the third point and then to the fourth point. If you want to look at some live example, there's a very good note making website. It's called Evernote. If you take a look at the Evernote's website, the first page does not follow an Z pattern. You look at this, you'll stop here, then you start reading again from here. This is what called a F reading pattern. So what exactly is the difference between F reading pattern and Z reading pattern? But if you go down this website, you'll see it start following the Z pattern. You'll read this first, and then you'll see this image, and then you'll see this image first, and then you'll start reading this. And same way it will form a Z. But why on the first page it does not follow the Z pattern? Well, there are two types of website where you use the F and Z patterns. If your site is dealing with image content, you use the Z pattern. But if you have a site that deals heavily with textual concept, for example, let's take Medium. Medium Medium is one of the leading blogging website. If you take the example of Medium, you see you'll start reading from here, you'll read till up here, and then again you start reading from here, you end here, and then you start reading from here, you end here. So it depends what kind of website or what kind of product you are actually trying to make. If it is a product that deals with a heavy textual material, you should design your layout in a manner that it is a F reading pattern. You start to read and end, and then you start reading again and then end. But if you have to deal with a image kind of data, you make a Z pattern. So let's find out how do you achieve visual hierarchy. Well, there are few rules to make a good visual hierarchy. For example, the first one is to create a hierarchy using size. You grab your attention with a bigger size font, and then you start, and then you ease into the topic using a subheading, and then you give them information in small paragraph. This comes under the size hierarchy. You are using size to guide the user's eye pattern. The other thing is color. You change the color to grab the attention. You make one of your important points in a different color, and the user will try to focus on that particular differently colored word. The other thing is contrast. You use contrast to show importance. Contrast is more of a graphics design concept where you use contrast to give importance. If you have to show something that is far away from the you make it with a less contrasty, and if it's closer to you, you have to give an impression that it's closer to you up the contrast. And the other pillar is space. Space is used to give a direction. Here are some examples of how you can use this concept to make a good visual hierarchy. In the first thing, we are looking at the size. Think big. By upping up the size of big, you give an impression of a good visual hierarchy. With just one look, I know what exactly the design is trying to say. The next example is color. In all this dummy text, okay, कुछ sense नहीं बन रहा है इसका, but if you just focus on the part which is colored, you can make sense. Like design is thinking made visual. So this is how you use the color in making a visual hierarchy. You know what you have to read next. At the first time you start reading and then you say कि यार कोई sense नहीं बन रहा है इसमें, समझ नहीं रहा है, and then you at most you'll read the second line, still sense नहीं बन रहा है, and the third line when you see okay is है, after that you'll start to skip these lines. You'll start to read just the ones who are colored. So this gives you a very good visual hierarchy. The other thing is contrast. On the left side you see white, and on the right side you see black, and you see colors that are using very good contrast to make the design pop. And the last is space. Even though this looks like an incomplete design, but you have exactly idea what actually is written here. So this is how you can use different kind of concepts to make a visual hierarchy. But this comes under user interface, right? SIF user interface can always say you cannot build a very good product. Apple is not based on the UI. Apple is actually based on the experience. So even though you are very great in graphics design, that's why there's this clash between not every graphics designer can be a very good UI engineer, or not every UI engineer can be a good graphics designer. Why? Because all these concepts are very common with graphics design as well. So if you just know this concept and you don't know the UX part, you cannot make a very good software, or you cannot make a very successful website or an application or any kind of solution at all. But there's only one person who can do it without any knowledge of UX or without any knowledge of UI. There's only one person that can make $1 million application, and that one person is this guy. You all know इसके पीछे करोड़ों का इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए लोग आए हैं. So he's the only person who can make the application without any knowledge, right? Any knowledge of UI, any knowledge of UX. मतलब यार 6 साल का मैं था तो डोरेमोन देखता था मैं. Let's move on. This is one of my favorite part. Okay, this is one of my favorite part, and which is the laws of UX. Well, speaking UX heavily deal with human psychology. How would humans react? How would humans react to things, and what will make the human take a decision? Like how would you ask the user to take a decision? Well, there's a very good movie on Netflix about how much of a control the software engineers have on your opinions. It's called Social Dilemma on Netflix. If you want to see, you can see it. Like how much power does this tech company hold in influencing your opinion, right? So there are different laws of UX. It would be a very heavy topic for you, but since it's an introductory session, we'll take a very few simple laws of UX. The first law of UX is Kiss. Does anyone know what kiss is other than what kiss is? Anyone, any idea? Like not that kiss, what you're thinking. Exactly. Keep it simple, stupid. Like, great answer. It's called keep it simple, stupid. So here's a test for you guys. If I give you an option to choose a texting application, which application will you choose out of the both, A and B? These both have these features. So which one will you choose? Like, let me know in the comment. Also, if session लंबा हो रहा होगा तो बताना. I'll wrap up it very quickly. A, right? A. Okay, a lot of people are saying A. Anyone who wants who will choose the B application? Okay, everyone's choosing A. A. Okay. Well, to your surprise, uh, A is actually Hike Messenger, whereas B is WhatsApp Messenger. And we all know which application is doing very well. Even recently, Hike, last week, I guess, Hike shut down all its server completely. So Hike is no more a live application. Exactly. So what made WhatsApp a successful product even despite having all these less feature? It does not, when the time WhatsApp was introduced, it does not supported large file, it does not supported stickers, it does not supported calling feature, does not have a personalized chat bot, or did not used to work offline. But whereas Hike had everything right off the bat from the starting. Why did it not work? So the thing is that Hike was way ahead for its time. It provided too many options for a chat. And since WhatsApp gave you just one feature, and that is तुमको बात करना है तो चुपचाप बात करो. But Hike had all of this jargon, and then it reduces its target audience. So what exactly is a target audience? Target audience is those who you want to target your product to. Well, Hike had all this feature. It was very complicated for older people to use. So there comes WhatsApp. It gives you only an option. Chat करना है, chat करो. Chat करना है. हाँ, right now WhatsApp has a 100 MB file sharing limit, but when it was introduced, it did not have that kind of limit. So this is why WhatsApp succeeded, because like how many people are here whose mummy or papa sends you the good morning message? Yeah, how many people you have family groups where दादाजी या बड़े पापा सुबह 5 बजे गुड मॉर्निंग मैसेज आ जाएगा. सेंस नहीं है कोई चीज का और मैसेज आ जाएगा. यार मैं अकेला नहीं हो सकता, और भी हो गए. Exactly, because this is what made WhatsApp a successful feature. It catered to a wide range of audience. Wide range of audience. So your father can use it, your elderly mother can use it, your grandparents can use it, you can use it, and your younger siblings can use it as well. Whereas Hike Messenger was a lot of complicated, because let's be honest, पापा को तो नताशा से फ्लर्ट करना नहीं था. So obviously your father won't use Hike Messenger. And exactly this is why this is why WhatsApp made it to the market. So there's also a common saying, if you put all the art in a single room, it won't be a museum, it would be a warehouse. Let's be honest, no one goes to look at a warehouse, you go to look at a museum. Hence come the law of keep it simple, stupid. You just keep the things that are necessary, and then you gradually grow up on your user. You don't put in everything right off the bat. ये भी ले लो, वो भी ले लो, सब कर लेंगे, मतलब बटन दबाओगे सब हो जाएगा. You cannot do that. If you see at every successful brand, they followed this rule. Apple first came in the market. Apple first came in the market with the iPod. iPod was the first um, device that they had that could store music. Then they added a calling feature, and now the iPod is a mobile phone. They made the screen bigger, and now the mobile phone is a tablet. And then they gradually kept growing up on their users' demand. So when you're designing things, you take out as much as possible out of the software and you put in only the necessary softwares. Coming to the other part, the color psychology. As we have seen, we tend to add everything to the color psychology. But the UI concept does not make such a big impact on like how can color change or how can color add such a growth to your product. So let's have another poll. Which one do you think is a more famous platform, Amazon Prime or Netflix? Which one do you think is Amazon Prime or Netflix? And why do you think which one is more popular or more successful platform? Netflix. Any other who says Amazon Prime? Why? Why do you think Netflix is more famous than Amazon Prime? Its UI is bad, more variety of content. Well, to be honest, Amazon Prime and Netflix has almost same similar content. But what makes Netflix is the color psychology it uses in its user interface. Let's have look at this example. This is your regular cinema. So you are habitual at seeing movies in a cinema hall. So when you're growing up, your brain is hardwired to remember this color. So what are the colors in a regular cinema hall? You see black, you see white, and you see red. So these are the three colors in any cinema hall. Whether you go to PVR or Inox, these are the three colors. And look at the colors used in Netflix. What are the colors that you can see in Netflix? You can see the same red, black, and white. So as humans, we tend to neglect all these things. We don't think कि colors इतने क्या ही फर्क होगा. But subconsciously, the UX part is taking advantage of you. It's making you feel more secure watching Netflix rather than Amazon Prime, which is a completely different thing. So when you try to choose colors, use color people can connect with. So that's why you take an example of Google. Google's mostly main material UI uses blue color, which says trust. Same as you see any other different brand, they uses color that can connect with the people. The other law is called Fitts law. So Fitts law says that the time to acquire a target is a function of the distance and size of the target. And this is the formula for the Fitts law. नहीं मेरा भी मैथ्स ठीक नहीं है और यूएक्स में थोड़ा सा मैथ्स आता है बट द थिंग इज it's not as complicated as it seems. This is more of a technical part. Let me show you more with an example of how UX can help you understand this. Which UI will help you faster? Obviously, the right hand side. Why? Because what Fitz's law says is that the time to acquire a target is a function of the distance and size of the target, which means the easier the CTAs or call to actions or the buttons are to access, the faster the process will be. If I have to look for the add to back button in a whole design, it will take me more amount of time. Whereas if the button is bigger and if it's closer to me, it will help me in a faster checkout. So this is what the Fitts law says. Let's go with a, we are coming to the end of the session. Let's go with a simple case study. What exactly do you think is Facebook biggest feature? Like biggest feature that have turned Facebook upside down, that had made Facebook able enough to buy out Instagram and giants like WhatsApp. What was the single feature that made Facebook what it was, what it is today? Any guesses? Question says like button. Any other guesses? Any features so powerful to make feeds personalization? There's another feeds personalization. Any other guesses? A remarkably powerful feature that Facebook added, and it turns like it quadrupled Facebook. Connecting people, what's in your mind? प्राइवेसी पॉलिसी, प्राइवेसी पॉलिसी के लिए तो लोग बॉयकॉट कर रहे हैं फेसबुक को. सो विजुअल हायरार्की. एनी अदर गेसेस? I'll answer that prime वाला question at the end of the session. सर्च एनीवन डेटा ब्रीच. एग्जैक्टली डेटा ब्रीच के कारण मैं बिल्कुल चाहूंगा कि फेसबुक यूज करे मेरा डेटा, और मैं कुछ सोच रहा हूँ उसके पहले ये ऐड दिखा दे. सो द मोस्ट पावरफुल फीचर दैट फेसबुक एवर एडेड was like button, right? It does not seem a very significant change. Facebook added the like button in, I guess, the year 2004 or 5, I guess. In a user perspective, it was not a very big change, but it, even this single feature was very thoroughly thought out. काफी रिसर्च, काफी चीज करने के बाद दे इंट्रोड्यूस द लाइक बटन. बिफोर, आई डोंट नो इफ तुम लोग का एज है कि नहीं उतना, लाइक बटन के पहले देयर वाज दिस ऑप्शन कॉल्ड फैंस. You didn't had friends, you had fans. Then they shifted it to more of a connecting narrative की connection के लिए है. Then they shifted to the friends, and then they added the like button. So why exactly do you think like button is this important of a feature? Well, like button ही तो सब प्रॉब्लम की जड़ है. Because with the invention of like button, people started comparing social media life with their real life. The more like you have, the more popular you are. The more like you have, the more credible you are. The more likes you have, the more good person you are, which leads to certain drawbacks, which were depression or cyberbullying, or not having a need of social acceptance. Like if I don't have more likes, I don't have more friends. But if someone have more likes, obviously iska content अच्छा होगा. इसके ज़्यादा likes है मतलब इसका products अच्छे होगा. This led to a whole new segment of social media marketing, or what you call influencers. Why do you think YouTubers बोलते हैं कि like करो, subscribe करो? Why do you think Instagram वाले influencers बोलते हैं like करो, share करो? Because today social media marketing is a 9.9, almost $10 billion industries, thanks to a simple UX feature of like button. So this is how you compound the use of UX. So the most important question of today's session is how is the career as a UX designer? But currently I work as a software application associate, so I'm a software engineer, but I also work on freelance project for UX design or UI designs, if you could say. And to be honest, it's a very lucrative job option if you are not very good at coding. Well, not very good at coding. So according to Glassdoor, a junior designer, UI designer, gets paid about 4.3 LPA to 5 LPA with an experience of 1 or 2 years. A mid designer can get experience of 8.3 to 10 lakhs per annum, and a senior designer can earn from 10 to almost, I guess, 30-35 per year. So UX designing is also one of a very good approach, because UX design is not very limited to technology. You can either jump into marketing section, you can jump into digital marketing, you can jump into architecture, you can jump into providing machineries. Even everything is related to UX. So how do you become a UX designer? Well, ये काफी डिफिकल्ट कोर्स है, काफी कम लोग कर पाते हैं. So I'm just kidding. It's not very easy, but it's not very tough either. What you have to do is, like, you follow other designers on YouTube, Behance, Dribble. Instagram is also, like, recently in Instagram community of designers is very good. Or you can read about UI and UX design on Medium, UX Planet, or Canva. Canva is also a very rookie designing platform, but the blocks that Canva provides are very useful. Like, to be honest, if you want to read about typography, Canva has one of the best blocks that you can have. Also, you can either read books. There are a few books. The Design of Everyday Things. Hooked is by Neer Eyal. Design of Everyday Things is by Don Normal, who is also known as the father of user experience design. Hooked is how to build habit forming product, like how to build products like Instagram, जिसमें तुम पूरा दिन waste कर दो अपना. Or Don't Make Me Think. It's to make a very easy approach to web usability. You don't have to think before ordering anything or performing any task. Or you can get a mentor. You can get someone who's actually into design stuff. You can, if you want to go to graphics design, you can get a mentor, people who are already doing graphics design. I even happen to know a few people. Ankur is one of attending in the meeting. Saurabh is also one of a very good graphics designer who helped me with the presentation. So you can either get a mentor and learn from them, or, but most importantly, practice. If you don't practice it, all the world's theoretical language, all the world's theoretical knowledge is useless. And let me give a very interesting example of how UX can be used other than technology or websites. So there was this company, a toothpaste company. They wanted to increase their sales by 40%. So all these MBAs were assigned there, and they were asked to come up with a strategy to increase the sales by 40%. So if you are an MBA, or if you are someone who deals with the marketing strategy of a company, what would you suggest that the toothpaste company would have increase their percentage by 40%? If someone knows the answer, exact answer, please keep quiet. It's a very interesting case study. Yeah, Steal Like an Artist is a very good book. It's a very quick read as well. It's a very short and simple book. Yes, even DSC teams post up a lot of articles on Medium about different aspects of technologies. You can also go check that out as well. Any idea about how would you increase the sales of the toothpaste by 40%? Any kind of idea? Offer price or discount on toothpaste with free paste. Yeah, it could be one of the idea. But kitna discount provide karoge? You cannot up. 40% is like almost half of the increment. Aggressive marketing you can do. Where Yash Morair is very outlet size, very good idea. Toothpaste mein namak hai, obviously a marketing strategy. 10% more paste, including salt, relating ad to real life. Well, if you look at it with an UX approach, right? You change the shape of paste. Okay, there are very good suggestions. But if you look at it with a UX approach, what you leverage in UX is like you leverage on how the user thinks. That is how you make social media so addictive. That is how you make the user experience of Netflix so pleasanting. That is how you gain trust for the payments application. So what they did was they leveraged the power of UX and the weakness of human mind. So the suggestion they come up with was increase the size of the whole of the tube by 1 mm. So 1 mm is a very small size. Like you won't even identify, yeah, you won't even notice that the size of the neck of the paste is increased. And what user have this general habit, because user experience is always leveraging the user's habit. So what habit you have is whenever you try to take up the paste, you take a clean single line. So even if it's a 1 mm smaller, you'll still take a single line of paste. And even if it's a 1 mm larger, you'll still take a single line of paste. But what happens is that with a 1 mm larger neck, you finish the toothpaste 40% faster. And hence, rather than increasing the number of people buying the product, they increase the frequency of same number of people buying the product twice a month or 40% faster. So this is how UX can be used in almost everything. So if you want to do be a good software engineer, you should have knowledge about UX. If you want to be a good marketing strategy designer, you have to have a good knowledge of UX. If you want to have a startup, you should have a knowledge of UX, because knowledge deals with people, and every successful company you can see deals with people. The product of Google is not the service it provides, it's the people. Same goes with the Apple, same goes with Microsoft, same goes with every other big giant. So this is how you can use UX in your day-to-day life and use the UI principle to make your software better. So well, that is all for me. Thank you for your attention. If you want to have any one-on-one chat, I cannot give my number out, but I'll provide you with my social media IDs. My personal ID is Vaibhav underscore Vaibhav 77, and my design ID is Vaibhav.design. Or you can directly mail to me if you have any other further queries, or you are not able to contact me. You can directly contact to the DSC team, because these people have been a very great help, and like I'm very happy to be associated with these people. And also big thanks to Saurabh for helping me out with the PPT. So you'll have a feedback form, so I would really appreciate if you could honestly fill it up. Well, thank you for giving your time. I'll give it to you, Shreyas.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Indeed, it was a cool session, and I would like to take this opportunity and pinpoint my favorite lines from the session. Those were "less is more" and the mirror selfie one. Those were my favorite. I was laughing like anything. So now I would like to open the forum for our audience. We have the formal Q&A sessions. Your questions, feel free to shoot your questions in the comment section. Our team will pin those questions on the stream. Your questions can range anywhere from technical details of UI using which software, which devices, and stuff like that, and can range to career, which companies are the best internships, so on and so forth. So yeah.
So, like the first question is from Aj on how to improve typography, basic to pro. It's a very nice question. If you guys don't know, he's one of the topmost video editor. If you're from Nagpur, you might have seen his work. He does a lot of great works. So, to improve typography, see, the basic thing is the main thing how to correctly use typography is how you pair the fonts. It's, as I said, it's not very necessary to use serif fonts on the print media or sans serif fonts on the digital media. You should be able to know how exactly you pair up the fonts. So if you want, there's a very good article blog by Canva on how to pair up a font, and it shows you an example of about, I guess, 110 different kind of pair up, how you can pair up a serif or sans serif font, how can you pair up two serif fonts, how can you pair up two sans serif fonts, how can you pair up a script font with a serif font. So there are a lot of different reading materials that are available. So at the end of the day, it comes to how much you practice, because it took me about 3 to 4 years to get the grasp of all the basic principles. And this was the introductory section. If you dive deep in this, you'll have everything. So also one point is, if you have made the design, you can like check up on yourself that what exactly is the difference after using the design principle and before using the design principle, and then you can submit the designs to the DSC teams. You'll have a link shortly. So that's answers your question, Arj. Just practice and read about it.
Cool. So, do we have any more questions?
Any question, like even if they are out of UX, anything related to software. You can do almost everything in Photoshop. Photoshop is like the Goku of all the designing software. You have ultra instinct mode in Photoshop. You can do almost everything from graphic. Even you can make motion posters in Photoshop. So Photoshop is everything. Like, you can do anything with Photoshops. Any other questions? Any questions about hackathon, like how to do hackathons or how to make. Sir, okay. This was a very interesting question. So, but Prime as well have blue and white colors. Then as well, white is getting fail in making values in customer mind. See, it's not about just color. If you look at the Prime's user interface, if you hover up on the Prime part, you can see on the left hand side you have a whole cast, like in every scene it changes scenes by scene. If you have two people standing in a scene, it will show you ये बंदा ये acting कर रहा है, ये बंदा ये acting कर रहा है, which is a lot of unnecessary applications. So it comes down to again the principle of KISS, keep it simple stupid. I don't need to know कि at present मेरे स्क्रीन में कौन सा बंदा है. That is one other thing. The other thing is thumbnails. So like Netflix have this very clear, like Netflix actually play with the user's mind. So if you look at Netflix, if you open up at Netflix, let's take an example for any okay, right, चले गए यहाँ पे power cut. If you take an example of let's Game of Thrones, let's say Game of Thrones ही है. Any series can you suggest me जो कि Netflix पे है, काफी famous है, या रिवरडेल देख लेते हैं. एक lot of at least female have Riverdale fan following. So what it does that it won't show you a same thumbnail for the same series. It will look into your user history, like what kind of shows you like. If you like crime suspense shows, it will show you the thumbnail for Riverdale, which includes the murder part of Riverdale. Spoiler नहीं देना चाह रहा हूँ मैं. And if you are into like if your user history suggests that this users watch mostly of romantic kind of things, then it will give you a thumbnail that shows that Riverdale is a romantic kind of thing. So this all small things that Netflix does that gives it a upper hand on Amazon Prime. Can a CSE graduate do UI UX? Yes, absolutely, you can do UI UX. Uh, there are bachelor's, diplomas, and master's courses in UI UX. But like I would not suggest you to do it after engineering, because a UI UX degree, a degree in design is in itself is a 3 to 4 year course. So what you could do is like you can go for a diploma course, or you can just learn yourself, because like I am not a certified designer. Okay, like everything I've done comes with the practice. With the hackathons I participated, because like as if I remember the first hackathon I participated with Krishna, we had no, like Krishna had no idea of UI UX, and I was like on very starting scale. Okay, so if you see at my and Krishna's first design for the hackathon we prepared, I remember that meme from Bassi, कोई सेंस है इस बात में, हमें तो बहुत लग रही थी. So this is how you improve by trial and error. So instead of getting a full design degree, if you are very good in user experience, you can do that as well. Can you please share the process you do to get a client for designing the front end? To get a client for designing the front end, see, the process is like for me, it has been a different kind of process. For everyone, it's a different kind of process. For me, when I was in college, I built a very strong profile. I network with a lot of people. If you're from GHRC, I would you know a few forums, because I was like part of almost everything. I was in the first year forum as president. Then I joined SPC, and then I was a part of IEEE. I was part of DSC. I was part of Facebook Developer Circle. I was part of a lot of different events, TEDx. I was even part of the organizing committee of DevFest. So what you do is like you meet people, right? And I used to participate a lot. So if you build up a profile of a particular thing, see, a lot of different people, my peers who were with me in a team, they were more inclined to the software part, in the development kind of part. So they build a very strong profile in the development section. I was more inclined to the design part, so I build a profile in design sets. So once you build a very legit profile or very credible profile, your network starts to suggest you to the people that if tumko kaam chahiye, you can talk to these people. And then after that, how you carry out the conversation, that depends on you. How to use minimum color for better UI UX? Well, it depends on preferences, and it depends on the trends. It's not necessary that you have to use very less number of colors, because if I use a black and white color in any poster, it becomes very monotonous. It depends on what kind of crowd you are catering to, right? If you are catering to young people, you should avoid using dull colors like black and white. You should use red color. Like if you see Nike use black or orange, or you can see neon colors, because like this cater to the young people. But if you look at LIC caters very calm colors. Like blue is, I think, the color of LIC. So it caters to you. The colors should be according to your user. So like UX is a very vast. You have user personas. You have to do user research. What kind of people you are making this solution for? Like what kind, who will be using your software? So all this factor comes in when you try to decide things. How to get project as freelance, and where to look for it online. Like ये आर्क पूछ रहा है, even he's a very big busy person. Okay, like he does a lot of great video works. So I'll just skip this question. So any other next question? Any tips for becoming a CG artist in scope? Well, like CG artists right now, since UI UX in 2021 is catching up a lot, motion graphics would be the next big thing that would come in market, right? So CG artists have a scope, no doubt, have a very good scope. But the thing is ki India have a very less and very uh, less credible institute for CG artists like VFX and CG. But मोदी जी बोल रहा हूँ, अंबानी जी ने दिया है फ्री नेट, तो यू हैव लॉट लाइक टन्स ऑफ मटेरियल ऑन इंटरनेट फ्री दैट यू कैन यूज, और यू कैन लाइक हैव एनी कोर्स फ्रॉम Udacity or Coursera. UI UX designer need to have HTML CSS skills, right? It's not exactly necessary, but if you have those skill, it's a plus point. Because मैं कितना भी अच्छा, like most of the time what the problem with me is that when I started getting into UI UX, I didn't know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, I was mostly a Python, like competitive programming coder, right? If you ask me about stacks and fulana dimka, ये सब कर सकते थे. So I used to make designs that were very beautiful to see, but extremely hard to code. So if you have this knowledge of these things, you actually have an idea कि क्या बन सकता है, क्या नहीं बन सकता है. So you tend to make designs which are easily approachable, or which are easily to build. So even if you're working as a UX UI designer with another coding team, you'll have an idea कि किस type का design बनाऊंगा, तो the team could be the team would be able to code it. So yet it's give you an upper hand if you have knowledge of that. As UI designer, what are you all time go to sites for guidance or to stay up to date. To stay up to dates, there are two king of UI UX design. One is Behance and the other is Dribble. But the problem is like almost 60 to 40% of designs on Dribble are very beautiful to look at. Like even one of my designs have more than 10,000, 12,000 views on Dribble. But if I be being honest, it is one of my most useless design ever. It's very beautiful, but it is not according to the UX principle. It would not be a very good software if you code it or you use it for the users. So if you want to look for an inspiration, if you want to look for beautiful design concept, you can go to Dribble. But if you want to have an actual full-fledged applications or full-fledged anything related to design, because Behance cater a lot of things. You get designs on fashion designing, you get designs for architecture, you get designs for user interface, you get designs for web pages. So Behance is more of a UX centric, and I would say थोड़ा ज़्यादा correct होता है Behance का material. But both sites are great, and if you want, I read a lot from UX Pin. There's a page from on Medium, I guess. So UX Bytes, UX Pain. So they post a lot of very good articles there. So it's like I have a habit of reading. I read almost anything. Sense नहीं बनता है फिर भी मैं पढ़ लेता हूँ. So it's all about how much you read, how much you learn. Yeah, even I have a profile on Dribble. If you want to, you can go check out on Dribble as well. Search for Vaibhav Pathak, Vaibhav R Pathak, I guess. So like these are my go-to websites. Other questions?
Great. Do we have other questions coming up? We'll wait for 5 seconds. Okay, let's count it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so great. Uh, I guess Vaibhav has quenched the thirst of questions that our audience had. Moving forward, I would like to thank Mr. Pathak for taking out some time from his extremely busy schedule and contributing to our community. I would also like to thank Professor Pranay Saraf, a faculty advisor at DSC GHRCE, and assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering GHRCE. Last but not the least, there's a lot that goes in the back end. It was such a wonderful event, and the credit of this event goes to the team DSC GHRCE who have uh, worked relentlessly day and night for this event. I would like to request all the attendees to fill in the feedback form and the form in which we are going to take your designs as well. We can connect you with Vaibhav. I guess if it's cool with him, and he can
Yeah,
help
sure,
you.
sure.
He can help you forward. So, on a concluding note, we help our peers learn latest technologies. All they have to do is connect with us on any of these platforms. We are on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Discord. You will find all those links below. That's my time. Thank you. Thank you for attending the event.
Thank you, sir. Bye.